Hey, Speckle Streamer, RG Land. It's me, Speckle1000 here, coming to this video. I am turning SCP, not really SCP creatures, turning Godzilla creatures into SCPs. Not really, turning them into it. I'm more or less just changing a few design details and putting them in as something else. And I'm still using the SCP 4.5 format. I did Anguirus. It's a, dinosaur-like one. And then, Hedorah, basically that small vegetation-like one. And, Dogora, that big one with tentacles all around it. And, Ebra, a giant lobster. Well, Ebra comes up before Dogora, because that one is SCP-7009. So, without further ado, let's roll intro and let's get into the video, and let's go. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. Okay, it's me, Jaden, and I'm coming back at you with some more SCP 4.5s. Like I already stated, these SCPs, well, were shifted towards the 4.5 Council, aka me and a few other members. And I'm going over through 7 all the way through 10. These are all relatively interesting, but they're all Keter class. Some I understand, some I don't. First one, I don't really understand why this one's in Keter class. It should be classified as a safe, but maybe because of one containment breach that happened recently. SCP-4.5 number 7007. Subject name Anguirus. Containment level Keter. Special precautions, needs to be in a, just in 5 by 5 kilometer, not really a kilometer, scratch that, just got a new message, it's not a kilometer, it's, it's a 500 by 500 meter containment cube, made with a, titanium tungsten alloy, folded over 2 times, just to make sure this thing can not break out. The weight of the thing is, well, only around 2 tons, and the length from head to tail end is around 15 feet. So, a very weird reason why the thing is in such a large containment is because of the fact it's a very fast individual. It has the ability to run at pretty much supersonic speeds when it feels like, but it needs at least 100 meters to actually build up that much of a speed. So, yeah, it can only get to less than half before running its head into the containment wall. Now, this thing is actually relatively friendly to the personnel that are containing it. It's actually one of the very few that are of these types that are known as kaijus in this world that are relatively nicer to humans. Any other anomalous properties are not really known, except for this fact that this thing's pretty much an old dinosaur. We don't really know how, but tests have shown that it has some slight radiation coming off of it. Not enough to get someone radiation poisoning, but just enough to trigger radiation readings. You could hypothetically get powers, very weak ones, but possible powers, or possibly improve other powers you already got while in this world, while coming in contact with this. But that's a very rare occurrence. So, let's get to the next one. This next one is SCP-4-4.5 number 7008. Subject name Hedorah. Containment level, Keter. Needs to be, special precautions, needs to be in a 5 by 5 meter humanoid containment unit. The thing is only around 6 feet tall and weighs approximately 200 pounds. But this thing can increase it's more or less a swamp monster-like creature. It has all the organs, but let's just say the smell coming off of it is awful. It is also known, other precautions are to continually feed it volcanic ash or just pure lava by pouring it in through a wall in the containment facility. The thing is also able to burn through the walls of the containment cell. Now, any other things we've tried to test out on it that can pierce through its skin has been shown to be near fruitless. We have sent in another SCP wielding SCP-7000 and went up to setting number 2. This one is known to pretty much incinerate anything. But anything within reason. And tests have been shown from clippings while the thing has been knocked out using a gas that the skin of this creature is a swampy vegetation-like thing. We don't really know what it is. But the legs also, for the physical features, it has all of it is relatively dark, but dark greenish. It's some purple in there too. It has red eyes and, well, for the major part, but the pupils are slits and the iris is a weird color. It has like little flat feet and 3 fingers. But this thing is also, like I said, is able to burn, and the reason why is because it can control its acidity of the vegetation it can grow. It's a very slimy creature, so yeah. It's sometimes referred to as something similar to SCP, I forget that number, but the old man, someone who's able to pretty much burn through anything, any known material. But this thing is actually relatively weaker than him because it doesn't have a pocket dimension. Now, the reason why it's in Keter is because it's such a pain to contain because of, well, its acidic abilities. Now, containment breach from it was when it met SCP-7007. All what happened really was it broke out via melting through its walls when it was classified as a Euclid. And SCP-7007 was still classified as Euclid at the same time. They managed to both break out of their containment cells and fight. It led some inevitable, well, not really inevitable, but some sad deaths of containment personnel. So both were reclassified as Keter because of how many people died from it. So yeah, let's just get to the next one. Okay, so the next one is a very interesting SCP. This next one is, well, not really that interesting. It's more of a mundane SCP, but you'll see what I mean in a second. This SCP is basically a giant lobster. Yeah, you heard me right. A giant lobster. One pincer is smaller than the other. One is shaped like a beak with one curving down, one with both curving down, whereas one's a short straight line. Another one, and the lower one is a longer one. Very interesting, and other than that, it's pretty much a giant lobster with just some spikes running down its back. SCP-4.5 number 7009. Subject name Ibra. Containment level Keter. Now, I don't really know why this one's labeled as a Keter in general. Namely because of the fact that this thing is yes, it is hostile to humans, but only if they come in within a certain range of its aquatic home, aka its containment area. Special precautions are that it should be monitored at all times using security cameras and infrared scanners, because this one is actually relatively interesting because it's a cold-blooded creature. So we need to see its body heat, because this thing actually is very fast while underwater. Should be contained in a 100 meter long and wide and around 20 meter high containment area full of water. Pretty much a swimming pool, in other words. But just full of water. Should be drained every now and again for cleaning and maintenance and making sure none of the panels are broken or busted, just to make sure this thing will not escape. Because if it does, it will head to the nearest body of water and claim it as its territory, and then proceed to kill any human that comes in too close of a contact with its aquatic home. The way we found out about this SCP is by, well, we've heard reports of some people going missing and their bodies being found like nearly chopped in half, and also somehow it looked like a giant lobster cut them, because someone showed that they had their finger cut off and showed that the patterns of a claw mark matched that of a scar. We did an underwater research facility nearby, but not in the body of water. It was actually a little bit further out, not within its territory, which we were lucky, because this thing's territory could have spread around more than a kilometer. This creature is also known as a kaiju, but when it's in its territory and you respect it, it's a relatively friendly creature and will help you in fights. But if you attack it or you just trespass in its home without we don't really know how you get permission from this thing, but without express permission from it alone, it will destroy your ship or just outright kill you if you're underwater. This next SCP is known as SCP-7010 or 7010. Subject name is Godzilla. Containment level is Keter. This one is a little interesting because it's from outer space and we don't really know how big it is. It was killed by an SCP that crowded up all these other SCPs and was the first ever kaiju that we recorded as an SCP. Codename is Godzilla. I will go over him in a later audio file. But the reason why I'm making these audio files in general is because I just want to make sure everything I'm learning is recorded somewhere, because something's going on in the O5 Council. I'm able to hear whispers of them, because some blab and some are just stupid enough thinking I don't hear jack squat to say it within my range. But little do they know, I'm able to hear pretty much everything they say. So they really need to learn to be careful. Now, the special containment for this one is, well, no containment at all, because we don't have any clue how big it is. So we don't know how big we need to make the containment cell. But we have found out a way to repel this thing from coming back to Earth, and it's always stuck within somewhere in Earth's orbit. But due to some satellites we've put out, we've been able to find it somewhere on the dark side of the moon. Now, we don't know how big SCP-7010 or Godzilla really is, but we've been measuring the tendrils themselves so far as stretching over a kilometer or a few miles in range. So, yeah, thing's really massive. Now, another fact about it like I already stated, it nearly killed Godzilla, aka the kaiju that killed it. We have another kaiju. We have kaiju remains in storage that are known as an SCP of themselves because of the amount of energy they hold behind them. It was actually one of the first ever major kaijus Godzilla killed. Godzilla nearly killed this one, but meh. The reason why I say killed is because this thing came back. Yeah, the thing, I've done my own research, and due to some remains I found, it's pretty much a giant space, very aggressive space, immortal jellyfish. So, you chop off a limb, the thing will regrow from that. Pretty much like a Deadpool level of regeneration. I really hate these ones. Mainly because they remind me of my father, but that guy's an overall dick in general. But, yeah. The other members of the 4.5 Council are thinking about creating our own splinter group known as the 4.5. We still work for the SCP Foundation, but we leak our own information to our own private servers that are locked away, and trust me, none of the O5 Council are able to access them. We've asked them to try to access them, and they said that they can't. Idiots, because they don't have our login credentials. They've tried hacking into the servers multiple times, but every single time has been fruitless. And this is where I'm storing these audio files, so see you until next time. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's video, because that's all the time I got for today. Until next time, subscribe to join the Spectacles Army or Demos Alliance. Goodbye and peace out, everyone.